Imagine following an influencer who seems to have all the answers for a fulfilling and enlightened life. Her Instagram profile is filled with serene images of meditation, stunning landscapes, and an aura of peace that seems almost magical. This is Kat Torres, a supermodel turned spiritual guru, promising evolution and well-being. But behind the inspiring posts and promises of transformation lies a disturbing truth. Her followers have become slaves, trapped in a web of manipulation and control. Kat Torres' story is an alarming example of how social media influence can be used for dark purposes. Her connections with celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio and the image of a perfect life attracted thousands of followers, many of whom were vulnerable and seeking something greater. They believed in Kat's promises of a better life in the United States, far from their past hardships. However, the reality was a vicious cycle of financial and emotional exploitation, where freedom was sacrificed in the name of false enlightenment. In this video, we will uncover the story behind Kat Torres' charming facade. We will explore how a supermodel influencer managed to turn loyal followers into slaves, using her tactics of emotional and psychological manipulation. Prepare for a revealing journey that exposes the hidden dangers of personality cults on social media and the importance of being aware of manipulation signs. You are about to discover a truth that few know but that can save many from falling into the same trap. Welcome to Spooky Stories. I'm Milo, your guide through the chilling and the unknown. Here, we dive into terrifying tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Join our community of thrill seekers, and let's explore the darkness together. I remember the first time I came across Kat Torres online. Her Instagram was a beacon of promise, filled with serene images of meditation, nature, and an ethereal beauty that seemed almost otherworldly. She spoke about well-being and spirituality with a conviction that was hard to resist. For someone like me, desperate to escape a life that felt increasingly suffocating and devoid of meaning, her words were a lifeline. Little did I know they would lead me into a nightmare. Kat Torres, also known as Kadiasia Torres Soares, was not always the wellness guru she portrayed herself to be. She started her career as a young model, gracing runways and magazine covers. Her connections with high-profile celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio brought her a kind of notoriety that many in the modeling world could only dream of. Over time, she reinvented herself, shifting from the superficial glitz of modeling to the profound depths of spiritual coaching, becoming a self-proclaimed witch, promising not just guidance but an evolution of the soul. Her transformation was not just a rebranding, it was a rebirth. She began offering sessions of spiritual coaching, claiming to possess supernatural powers that could lead her followers to a higher plane of existence. Her workshops, laden with promises of enlightenment and a better life, were expensive, but the cost seemed justified by the supposed rewards. It wasn't long before her followers, including myself, were hooked, entranced by the possibility of a new beginning. Reinventing herself as a spiritual guide, Kat began to offer more than just fashion advice. She promised a transformation of the soul, becoming a self-proclaimed witch. She claimed to have supernatural abilities capable of elevating her followers to a new level of existence. Her spiritual coaching sessions quickly gained popularity, especially among those who felt lost and sought something more meaningful in life. The transition from supermodel to spiritual influencer seemed perfect, blending the superficiality of fame with the depth of spirituality. Over time, Kat built a loyal following, all eager for her promises of enlightenment and well-being. Her workshops were expensive, but they attracted many, including sex slaves, seeking redemption and purpose. The promise of a better life in the United States, far from past limitations, was too tempting to ignore. However, while many saw in Kat a light at the end of the tunnel, Few realized the darkness lurking behind her sweet words and promises of transformation. Kat Torres's transformation was not just superficial. It was a true spiritual rebirth. She began offering spiritual coaching sessions, claiming to have supernatural powers that could guide her followers to a higher plane of existence. Her workshops, laden with promises of enlightenment and a better life, were expensive, but the cost seemed justified by the rewards promised. It wasn't long before her followers, including myself, were completely absorbed, mesmerized by the possibility of a new beginning. Kat's workshops were more than just classes. They were transformative experiences that promised to open her followers' eyes to a world beyond the physical. She spoke with serene authority, convincing us that our old lives no longer had value. In one of these gatherings, I met Leticia Maia and Desiree Freitas Silva, two Brazilians who, like me, were seeking something greater. The promise of a better life, filled with meaning and purpose, united us under Kat's guidance. The feeling of being on a path to enlightenment was intoxicating. We felt that we were part of something greater, something that transcended our mundane lives. Kat promised us a complete transformation, a spiritual evolution that would free us from our old limitations. With each session, we became more dependent on her guidance, believing that only she could lead us to the state of fulfillment we sought. But as we delved deeper into her promises, we failed to notice the shadows that were beginning to surround us. I was not alone in this journey. Among Kat Torres's most fervent followers were Leticia Maia and Desiree Freitas Silva, two Brazilian women who, like me, were searching for something deeper. We were drawn into Kat's world by the promise of spiritual growth and personal transformation. She promised us a better life in the United States, far from the troubles and limitations of our past. Her words were like honey, sweet and soothing, masking the bitterness of what was to come. The bond between us followers grew as we shared our hopes and fears. Leticia, a former supermodel, and Desiree, a digital influencer, found in Kat a mentor who seemed to have all the answers. Her promises of spiritual transformation made us believe we were on the right path. We began to see ourselves not just as followers but as a community, united by the search for a higher purpose. The trust we placed in Kat was unwavering, blinding us to the warning signs. Kat's influence over us was profound and subtle. She encouraged us to cut ties with our families, claiming they were obstacles to our spiritual evolution. Isolated from our loved ones, we became increasingly dependent on her guidance. The feeling of being special, chosen for a sacred journey, blinded us to the reality of our situation. The trust we built around Kat and each other was, in fact, a trap, binding us more tightly into her web of manipulation. The initial steps into Kat Torres's inner circle were intoxicating. We felt chosen, special, as if we were embarking on a sacred journey. Kat's influence was pervasive. She encouraged us to cut ties with our families, claiming they were obstacles to our spiritual evolution. Isolated from our loved ones, we became increasingly dependent on her guidance. What we didn't realize was that this isolation was the first step in a calculated plan to control and manipulate us. Kat's isolation strategy was subtle but effective. She made us believe that our spiritual well-being depended entirely on her guidance and the coaching sessions she offered. Leticia Maia, a former supermodel, and Desiree Freitas Silva, a digital influencer, were particularly affected. Kat promised them, and all of us, a life of prosperity and enlightenment, but in return, she demanded our complete loyalty and submission. The promise of a better life in the United States seemed within reach, but it was, in fact, increasingly distant. As we distanced ourselves from our old friends and family, Kat's presence in our lives became dominant. Her words were like an anchor, keeping us firmly under her control. With each session, the emotional and psychological dependency intensified. Kat made us believe that any doubt or questioning was a sign of spiritual weakness. Thus, we blindly followed her instructions, believing we were on the right path, unaware that we were being slowly led into a trap from which escape would be difficult. As we delved deeper into the spiritual journey under Kat Torres's guidance, reality began to distort in unexpected ways. What initially seemed like a path to enlightenment and personal growth soon turned into something dark and disturbing. Kat began to demand not only emotional loyalty but also absolute physical and psychological control over her followers. The environment that was once about spiritual quest now resembled a cult, where individual freedom was suppressed in the name of supposed evolution. Leticia Maya and Desiree Freitas Silva, who had been pillars of strength and inspiration within the group, began to show signs of strain. The constant pressure and increasingly extreme demands from Kat were taking their toll. The coaching sessions, once eagerly anticipated, became dreaded encounters. Kat used emotional manipulation techniques, making us believe that any resistance was our fault, not a consequence of her tyrannical control. The promise of a better and more enlightened life was dissipating, replaced by a growing sense of imprisonment and despair. While Kat kept us under her strict control, her true nature began to emerge. She was not the benevolent spiritual guide promising transformation, but a skilled manipulator, using her influence to fulfill her own ambitions. The followers, including myself, who once saw her as a savior, now found themselves trapped in a web of lies and manipulations. The initial glow of her promise of spiritual enlightenment had faded, revealing a dark and distorted reality where freedom and individuality were sacrificed in the name of a false promise of transformation. Over time, the true nature of our devotion to Kat Torres became painfully clear. The price of our loyalty was not just emotional but also physical and financial. Kat demanded exorbitant contributions for her coaching sessions and workshops, draining our savings and leaving us increasingly dependent on her. Leticia Maya and Desiree Freitas Silva, who initially seemed so strong, began to buckle under the weight of these demands. The promised life in the United States seemed increasingly unattainable, replaced by an endless cycle of sacrifices and servitude. Kat Torres was a master at manipulating our hopes and fears. She used her influence to keep us submissive, promising that each new sacrifice would bring us closer to enlightenment. I clearly remember a day when Leticia, a former supermodel who had shined on international runways, complained about the growing pressure. Kat silenced her with sweet but firm words, reminding her that true transformation required sacrifice. This pattern repeated with all of us, turning our lives into a constant state of vigilance and blind obedience. The promise of a better life had turned into a nightmare, where our devotion to Kat Torres became a prison. Each of us was trapped in her web, unable to escape the cycle of manipulation and control. Kat made us believe that our dedication was a path to salvation, but in reality, we were increasingly entangled in her lies. The price of devotion was high, and each passing day made it clearer that the light at the end of the tunnel was just a mirage, hiding the true darkness of our situation. The truth began to reveal itself slowly, like a veil being lifted. Small details that we once ignored now started to make sense, exposing the true nature of Kat Torres's manipulation. She was not guiding us to enlightenment but ensnaring us in a cycle of dependence and control. Leticia Maya, a digital influencer, was one of the first to realize the extent of the deception. Her savings were depleted, and her mental health was deteriorating under the weight of Kat's constant demands. The revelation was a painful process. Desiree Freitas Silva, who had once been a loyal and dedicated follower, began to question Kat's motivations. She noticed how Kat surrounded herself with luxuries, funded by our contributions. The coaching sessions, which initially promised spiritual growth, now seemed more like a facade to hide Kat's exploitative nature. The sense of betrayal was deep, and many of us began to feel a mix of anger and hopelessness. As more followers began to realize the truth, the carefully constructed structure built by Kat started to crumble. The circle of trust she had created was falling apart, and the dependency she had fostered was turning into revolt. The promise of a better life in the United States was now a bitter joke. Many of us were financially and emotionally ruined. What seemed to be a path to enlightenment revealed itself as a dead end, where followers were turned into mere pawns in Kat's relentless pursuit of power and control. The decision to escape Kat Torres's control was not easy, but it became a necessity. Leticia Maya and Desiree Freitas Silva, who had been pillars of strength and inspiration within the group, became the leaders of the resistance. We planned our escape carefully, knowing that any mistake could result in severe repercussions. Kat maintained strict control over our movements, but the growing dissatisfaction among the followers began to create cracks in her authority. The feeling of freedom, though distant, started to become a real possibility. Each step towards freedom was a battle, both internal and external. We met in secret, sharing our experiences and strengthening our resolve. I remember one particular night when Leticia, with tears in her eyes, spoke about the dreams she had abandoned and the life she wanted to reclaim. That night solidified our determination. We used every tool at our disposal to plan the escape, from secret communications to building a support network outside Kat's circle. When we finally managed to escape, the sense of relief was indescribable. However, freedom came with its own set of challenges. We were emotionally exhausted and financially ruined. Rebuilding our lives took time, patience, and constant mutual support. Leticia resumed her career as a digital influencer, using her platform to warn others about the dangers of manipulative figures like Kat. Desiree dedicated herself to helping other cult survivors, using her experience to guide and support those seeking a new life. Our escape was not just a physical liberation, but a spiritual rebirth, marking the beginning of a new journey of healing and recovery. After the escape, the emotional and psychological impact that Kat Torres had left on us began to fully manifest. Leticia Maya, once a vibrant supermodel, now struggled to rebuild her life and identity. The nights were haunted by nightmares and memories of Kat's suffocating control. However, she found strength in her online community, sharing her story and warning others about the dangers of engaging with manipulative influencers. Her vulnerability became her greatest strength, inspiring many to seek help and break free from similar situations. Desiree Freitas Silva also faced significant challenges in her recovery. As a digital influencer, she used her platform to raise awareness about psychological abuse and manipulation within cults. Each post and video was an attempt to exorcise the demons of the past and build a safer future for others. She founded a support organization for survivors, offering resources and a support network for those who, like her, had been victims of emotional manipulation. Desiree's journey became a beacon of hope for many. My own journey of recovery was long and arduous. I found solace in writing, documenting each step of my experience and reflecting on the lessons learned. The story of our escape and recovery became a life mission, a constant reminder of human resilience. Although the emotional scars were still deep, each day represented a victory over the past. By sharing our story, we hoped not only to find healing, but also to prevent others from falling into the clutches of manipulators like Kat Torres. Our suffering became a powerful tool of transformation, not just for us, but for all who sought liberation. Now that you know the dark truth behind Kat Torres' story, it's time to reflect on the impact of the influences we follow on social media. Have you ever wondered how real the life of an influencer can be? Or how many people might be living under the shadow of empty promises and emotional manipulation? Kat Torres' story teaches us the importance of questioning, investigating, and above all, protecting our emotional and financial freedom. When was the last time you critically evaluated the promises made by those you follow online? Are we all seeking a quick solution to our problems, willing to pay any price for the promise of a better life? It is crucial to remember that even on social media, reality can be manipulated to appear perfect. The search for enlightenment and well-being should be authentic and led by truly reliable sources. If you identified with any part of this story or know someone who might be trapped in a similar situation, take action now. Question, talk, and seek support. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate notifications. Here, we will continue to share revealing stories and provide guidance that can really make a difference in your life. Join us on this journey of discovery and empowerment, and never let empty promises dictate your path again. Meet Sarah. Like many of us, she used to dread bedtime. Hours spent tossing and turning, waking up groggy and irritable, and worst of all, her relentless snoring that not only disturbed her sleep, but her partner's as well. Desperate for a solution, Sarah tried everything. New mattresses, white noise machines, even sleeping pills. Nothing worked until she discovered our breathing for sleep routine. One particularly frustrating night, Sarah stumbled upon an article about the power of breathing to improve sleep. Skeptical but willing to try anything, she read about our breathing for sleep routine, a simple, scientifically backed method designed to clear sinuses, enhance breathing, and eliminate oxygen blockades. It promised to guide users through a simple breathing routine for the best sleep of their lives. Intrigued, she decided to give it a shot. As she began the routine, Sarah immediately felt her sinuses clear. She followed the step-by-step guide, learning how to breathe deeply and correctly. Within minutes, she noticed a significant difference. Her breathing was smoother, more relaxed. That night, she fell asleep faster than she had in years and, incredibly, stayed asleep all night. One of the most astonishing benefits was the end of her snoring. The routine included a simple breathing hack that stopped her snoring in minutes. Sarah learned that her habit of mouth breathing was activating her survival mode, preventing her from achieving truly restful sleep. By switching to nasal breathing, she deactivated this mode and allowed her body to fully relax. The next morning, Sarah woke up feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. She couldn't remember the last time she felt so well rested. Her partner noticed the difference too. No more middle-of-the-night disruptions from her snoring. The transformation was remarkable, and Sarah knew she had found something special. Sarah's story is not unique. Many others have discovered the life-changing benefits of our breathing for sleep routine. Imagine falling asleep quickly, sleeping soundly through the night, and waking up feeling fully rested. No more snoring, no more grogginess, just deep, restorative sleep. Are you ready to transform your sleep like Sarah did? Our breathing for sleep routine is easy to follow and starts working immediately. Clear your sinuses, enhance your breathing, and remove oxygen blockades with our guided routine. Say goodbye to snoring and hello to the best sleep of your life. Check out the link for this wonder in the description and the comments.